Unfortunately, myself, Ricardo, and Tracy didn't get around to watching the Bike Riders. This is the newest Jeff Nichols film.
Mhm.
And the trailer looked really, really solid. And
It
it's
is.
it's very rare that we get to see like a biker drama, right? Because you
Mhm.
always associate those kind of films like in the 50s and 60s, like with what's the one with Marlon Brando, the Wild One, you know what I mean?
The Wild Ones, and then
Wild One,
obviously
right?
obviously in the 70s we then got that kind of post. Well, we got those the ones that came after Easy Rider, the like
Correct.
kind of
Yep.
biker exploitation films of like just put a character on a bike and call it a day. Essentially, there was also that
and
weird.
just have them do stunts and
Yeah. I mean, Easy Rider, of course, is its own thing, but like the films that came after it were just absolutely bananas. Also, there was that one random ass werewolf biker movie, Werewolves on Wheels, I think.
That.
Werewolf
Yeah.
Wheels, yeah, also from the same time period. Sadly, not worth it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks for the heads up.
I
Yeah.
watch it so you don't have to.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So, CC, you were lucky enough to see this theatrically, right? So,
I
yeah,
was.
take it away. What was the Bike Riders about? So the floor is yours. Take it away.
Oh, thank you. I actually kind of prioritized going to see the Bike Riders because I've been following its development for a hot minute. Jeff Nichols is a filmmaker I'm sure many audience members are familiar with. I have not had the chance to dive into his work too much. I think the film of his most people would know him for is Mud, starring Matthew McConaughey.
Right.
But then other films of his are Take Shelter, Midnight Special, and Loving. But this film came on my radar because I remember hearing that Jeff Nichols was working on a period biker film, and I was interested. And then the first trailer dropped from Searchlight, actually, back in the day. And I was very excited for it. But then the news further dropped that Searchlight was dropping the film. And it was quite alarming. But this was after the Disney purchase and after they were trying to kind of figure out, I don't know, since Disney acquired Fox and since Disney's kind of used Searchlight as the studio they used to release their Oscar fare, there's kind of been a bit of an identity crisis over there where they're not quite sure what kind of movies they're putting out. Like, I remember them absolutely botching the release of Del Toro's Nightmare Alley, and a couple other egregious things like that. But so, of course, they dropped the Bike Riders, and there was this brief period where the film had to look for a new studio. But thankfully, Focus Features and Universal stepped in and picked it up for distribution. They pushed it back a little bit, but then it was supposed to come out last year, but then it finally came out this year. From what I've heard, the project is actually based on originally. There was a book, I think, from the 60s and 70s from a photographer and journalist called Danny Lyon called The Bike Riders, which is essentially like kind of a photojournalist enterprise documenting a particular group of Midwestern bikers in the 60s, 70s period. And the film is an adaptation of that book, essentially. The plot, I would describe the structure as very similar to Goodfellas, where you have a couple characters actually, but mostly a particular character. It's kind of talking about this particular point in time and the rise and fall of this particular gang. In this particular case, Jodie Comer's character, she plays a woman named Kathy Cross. She talks about this biker gang called the Vandals that she was affiliated with in the 60s and 70s, and kind of the rise of this biker gang, and then kind of the fall of the biker gang is like the tone of it shifted quite dramatically. And I'm making it sound a little more conventional of a film than it actually is. Because it's non-linearly told. Like it's as I said, it's based off. It's kind of structured around a series of interviews, but most of them are with the Kathy character played by Jodie Comer, with flashbacks depicting a lot of the different events and everything. How the gang was originally founded by this guy called Johnny, played brilliantly by Tom Hardy, no less, who's a trucker who kind of like rides bikes recreationally over the weekend with his friends, and then he watches the Marlon Brando biker film, The Wild One, and gets this idea to start like a proper biker gang. And kind of like, and they start off kind of humble. They're like small town, northern Indiana type plays, and like kind of like they get together with their buddies, they ride their bikes, and get to do all the attitude and everything. But then as time goes on, they start developing other chapters. They start really getting into the like biker lifestyle. There's more and more kind of comes into it, and then like it gets to a point where the film is very interesting because the film talks a lot about masculinity. Like a lot of these men, and they're all played brilliantly. I mean, this cast is great. There's a character played by Austin Butler called Benny, who I'm going to get into in a minute. But then other cast members include Boyd Holbrook, who some of you might remember as the lead in the Shane Black Predator movie, the blonde guy. Norman Reedus is in this film in a smaller role.
Right? Norman Reedus, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not Mike. Big surprise.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Michael Shannon, who is a frequent collaborator with Jeff Nichols, is also in the movie. And what I love about the movie is that a lot of these guys feel very normal. Like a lot of them are, especially as someone who, I mean, I went to college in northern Indiana, so I'm very familiar with like Midwest culture and Midwest masculinity. And a lot of them just seem like, regular guys. A lot of these are regular guys. But then they get on their motorcycles and they put on their leather jackets and they become these like it becomes a form of escape. It becomes like they have an extra strut in their step. They have a certain poise, a certain like sense of power, a certain sense of like a certain confidence, a form of performative masculinity. So of course, it's inevitable that things with all this start to go wrong. There's a lot that the movie talks a lot about like the kind of shift in biker culture pre and post Vietnam, the kind of influence of like drug culture and counterculture on all this. A big part of this movie is told from the perspective of Kathy, and her into this culture is that she falls in love with and marries this particularly wild biker called Benny, played by Austin Butler, who is a very, very mercurial character. Like, we don't know very much about him. We just know that he, above almost anything else, loves riding motorcycles and has a certain sense of freedom and power that he gets from very kind of channeling a lot of kind of James Dean type mysteriousness in that role. And he's a delightfully complex character. There's a lot of, I mean, they're all like delightfully complex, but there's something about Austin Butler's character that's like delightfully complex and nuanced. Also, because this is from the perspective of his wife, the movie very much has that kind of like he is allowed to be eye candy in quite a few, let me put it that way. Like in quite a few scenes, like you really get to like look at this guy and kind of understand, like getting into like kind of the sex appeal of biker culture as well, and bikers. And in that part, like it grounds the film in relationships in a great way, whether it's between the relationship between Benny and Johnny, where they have kind of like a surrogate father-son relationship, the kind of family relationship of the small community and this biker gang, whether it's the relationship between Kathy and Benny. All of this set to an absolutely I cannot praise this film enough. It only opened this weekend. I'm not sure how globally, but at least here in the States, it's officially out in theaters. I think I caught it among like on the like opening day because I got it Thursday night. I cannot recommend this film enough. If like this is a movie that, not just because its complicated release kind of proves that Hollywood doesn't think that films like this are marketable, which is kind of insane when you think about it. This is an ensemble period piece that's very driven by aesthetic, but there's also like a lot of drama. And yet Searchlight kind of bailed on it and were like, we don't know how we're going to sell this, and gave it to another studio to release instead. But the style is absolutely brilliant. It doesn't really have a score as much as it has like it's going back to Scorsese, going back to Goodfellas. There's very much like a wall-to-wall like period music effect going on. Like I was hearing John Lee Hooker, I was hearing other blues musicians, catching a couple like pop beats, some rock. there's a brilliant use of Masters of War by the Staple Family Singers in this movie during an especially pivotal moment. The performances are all great, and I like how the film has kind of a stripped back feel, but there's definitely a romanticism contrasted with kind of a harsher sense of reality to it as well. Yeah, the Bikeriders is really good, and you should all go and watch it.
Well, what would you rate the Bikeriders then?
I gave it this is obviously one of I would say 10 out of 10, one of my favorite films of the year so far. I mean, up there with Furiosa, Dune Part 2. I don't know. I haven't really had the chance to get out to the movies much, and this film felt really special. But yeah, no, this was a 10 out of 10 for me, and it's the kind of good where, even though I said earlier I haven't had the chance to watch any of Jeff Nichols' films before, now I want to, and I want to see what other movies he comes out with. He's talking about making a remake of Alien Nation for Paramount. If y'all want a little throwback there.
Okay.
Wait, Paramount, because I know Alien Nation is a Fox property, right? I know that.
Yeah, but I'm not sure about the subsequent series, because it was a Fox property, which is why you can't get Alien Nation on DVD very easily, because Fox and Disney doesn't know what to do with it. But I'm not sure who owns the show, though. I'm not sure who owns the show Alien Nation.
Series, I believe it's Fox too, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah, whatever reason, the rights are currently at Paramount, and Jeff Nichols is currently trying to develop a contemporary remake of it, which I would pay big money for. I have a huge soft spot for Alien Nation, and after the Bikeriders, I'm like,
I would prefer District 9 sequel, but Nation go too.
And as I'm hearing about a remake, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking they could subtly explore, matters concerning Black Lives Matter, I guess.
Definitely.
Like 2020 stuff now, with George Floyd.
It's a show that totally could update. You don't even have to update that much, to be honest.
There's a lot about Alien Nation that you wouldn't even really need to update very much. Like it's one of those premises that's so simple, but there's so much room to explore and expand, essentially. Which, again, this is one of the reasons why I think the original film is criminally underviewed. Like, obviously, it's got its clunkier elements to it, but I still think that it's a movie that more people should watch and talk about. Plus, that song by the Four Tops, the Four Tops over the credits. I mean, it's 80s Four Tops, but still.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I after this, I'll probably go skip across to my little theater and then pick it up again with showing. I'll catch it for the late night screening. Nice.
Oh yeah. I feel like
I do hope it shows for more than a week though, because down here in Trinidad we just have this thing where if it's not that widely advertised, or it doesn't have like a really cool poster, or like big actors. I mean, not to say that Austin Butler and Tom Hardy aren't, right? But I don't want to see
but
that.
They're not. But they're not like Robert Downey Jr. big. I get it.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Or Ryan Gosling big, right?
Or Brad Pitt, or like Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise or whatever. Like.
Yeah, but I do hope to see it by year's end. Even if I have to wait till it comes out digitally, I really will check it out for sure.
I want to see. I want to see where it kind of lands on people's best, or who knows? I don't know if it's not going to vibe, but like best, where it lands on people's end of year list, because it's high on mine. I need to catch up on some more recent releases, but definitely it's going to be pretty high on mine. I also had this weird moment talking about. I think it was Tracy saying like, "God, I'm old." I had this moment of seeing Tom Hardy in this, playing this like middle-aged to kind of getting on in years a Midwest biker, and thinking about him when he was just starting out in like Star Trek Nemesis, and being like, wow. Like Tom Hardy.
He was in that film. That's Ricardo's favorite Star Trek movie of all time.
Tom Hardy has aged like a fine wine. I feel like we take that man for granted as an actor. Like that man, during the middle, I was watching this with a friend, and in the middle of it, I leaned over and whispered, "Hot take," but I feel like Tom Hardy could have played a better Napoleon than Joaquin Phoenix did. And he whispered back, "No shit."
Bro, that is a thought.
That's a thought. But CC, Venom 3, which we're getting later this year. I mean,
oh Lord, that's a good question. I never watched Venom 2. I think whose worst of the year list did it land on?
Mine. It was horrible. I hated it. I will get to Venom with our review Spider-Man later on, right? But
good.
Yeah, I hated Venom. Like they wasted carnage, right?
Hey, I'm just here for Venom horse, to be honest with you. That's literally what I'm here for.
But yeah, other than that though, CC, thank you for the recommendation though.
Of course.
We put the check with the Bikeriders, seeing that you
I dislike that so many of the people that run Hollywood think that a movie like this isn't something people would go see, and I want more people to go see it and prove them wrong, because I definitely feel like there's enough here to be general audience appetite easily.
Right.